We wanted to create a fun, non-judgmental space where women can talk about their shared experiences.
Here, we will normalize the challenges we face as females living in a society that dictates unrealistic and outdated expectations on what a woman should be.
Together, we hope to cultivate a supportive community of women who empower one another to courageously live unapologetically.
A quick disclaimer before we get started. Although Cindy and Danielle are licensed therapists, this podcast is not to be interpreted as therapy or a replacement of therapeutic services. It is strictly a conversation between two women about their experiences in the world today. If you like today's episode, please make sure to like and subscribe below. Also, follow us on all social media platforms at Unapologetically Females. With that being said, we hope you enjoy this next episode.
All right. Welcome back for another episode. We are here today to talk about a topic that I feel like is so prevalent in the world today and has been for some time, but the evolution of mental health in adolescence. And our experience, I think you have grown children. I have children I have one that's like a preteen right now. And so just kind of what I've seen in my own personal life, but then also what we have seen in practice. So yeah, I think it's an important topic. I think that kids these days, one of the stats that I saw was that 1 in 7 kids between the ages of 10 to 19 experience a mental health disorder. Mm-hmm. And so
I think it's probably higher than that because they don't share and they're not able to communicate as well what they're feeling or what they're going through.
Absolutely. I'm sure. And that's something I think to always remember too, is that there's that population piece that we'll never know about, and who knows how big that could be, you know?
Right.
I think there was another
resource
one.
Ability, right? Like not every community has the same resources or availability of those resources. So yeah.
Exactly. So another stat that I was seeing was that 49.5% of all adolescents have experienced a mental health disorder within those years.
Yeah.
So,
and again, I would argue that it's higher than that. Yeah. I would argue it's even higher than that. Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, I would say over the years, or I would ask over the years in practice, how do you feel like it has changed for you as a clinician in treating individuals?
I think anxiety is an epidemic in our society right now, and especially in our youth. The amount of comparison and shooting on yourself as far as I should be at this level of, whether it's academics or sports and then it's reiterated through social media and comparison of people posting and then parents bragging and then parents saying, oh, child is, got a D1 scholarship or is going to, Vanderbilt or whatever. And so these kids are like constantly pushing themselves to do better and better. And that's, I'm in North Scottsdale, right? So that's that community. But I feel that it is in every community at some level, not just communities where higher education is expected and offered, but in communities that, trades or other avenues of future careers happen as well. They're expected to look a certain way, they're expected to act a certain way, and I think that's increased tenfold definitely since I was a kid.
100%.
And I blame technology, I blame social media for a lot of that. And I also think that COVID is, and I've said this before and we've talked about this before, it is not given the enormity of the way that it impacted our youth. Yeah. It's not given the attention in the way that it impacted our youth in such an enormous way. And we just kind of, oh, COVID's over, let's move on, and these kids, their nervous systems are reeling from everything in my world is great, everything's fine, I'm going to school, my family's good, I don't have to worry about, anything but being a kid. And all of a sudden the next hour or day, the whole world might fall apart and we all might die. And my parents are freaking out. And my house, I'm confined to my house and I can't see my friends and I can't go to school. And everyone's wearing a mask. And all I can do is sit on social media all day and scroll and doom scroll and think, okay, what do I do? So of course, I mean, their nervous systems are like at high alert all the time. Is that going to happen again? Now I know that my world isn't certain. Now I know that I can't just be a kid. I have to worry about adult things because I know that something bad can happen. Where before I was living in childhood bliss, letting or just trusting that my parents are going to take care of it or that everything's going to be fine.
Right. I think something else that's interesting, or like how we've evolved in talking about mental health disorders, is I think that in the past, a kid that was, that had a mental health disorder, a lot of times was just labeled, I think, as like a troubled kid, right? Like, oh,
Or a
it's only,
troublemaker.
yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're the troubled child, or whatever. And now I mean, it's so far from that where I mean, I would say most of the kids that you're interacting with and at that age have some level of anxiety or something that they're experiencing from a mental health perspective because of the world and the environment they're living in. It's not this, profiled version of an individual of what we want to say is somebody with a mental health disorder.
Right. Yeah. And some of it is good that we've evolved, clinically and as a society to be able to say we can diagnose these certain things, right? We can diagnose ADD, ADHD, autism spectrum, neurodivergency, and those things, right? And so in one way, that's great because we can say this kid isn't a troubled kid or a troublemaker. This is what they're struggling with, and here's how we can help them. In another way, it's hard because it feels like it's expanding in diagnoses, right? Like more and more kids are being diagnosed, more and more kids are experiencing, as you said, anxiety, depression, divergency, and all of these real challenges. And then they're expected to just, normalize their life and go through normal school and succeed
Right.
and
not
at high
get
levels
support.
and not get support.
Yeah. And not get support. It's like grin and bear. And I think I mean, it is incredibly dangerous. Suicide rates are higher than they've been,
Eating
I think it's
disorder
something
rates.
else, right.
Right. Yeah.
I was reading something that like 40% ish of individuals with depression don't ever get treatment. And again, you could
Right.
probably argue that number's higher even, like it's true though that,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so I think that it's so dangerous for us as adults, as parents, as educators, as a safe adult period, to put the message out there to any child that they just need to grin and bear, and that it's shameful to receive help, or that, so and so next door is getting all of these accolades or doing all these things, and so that makes you less than, or it's that comparison piece is so damaging. So
Absolutely.
it's just so dangerous to do that, and put
Yep.
our kids in those places,
Yeah.
because
They do it
everyone
to
is going through
themselves.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do it to themselves. And everyone is going through something and everyone has a story, But I talk to kids all the time. It's like the person that you have the most conversation with during your day is yourself. And you are constantly bullying yourself. Would you say the things to somebody that you love that you're saying to yourself? And 100% of the time they say no. I would never talk to somebody else the way that I talk to myself. How sad is that, right? How sad is it that these are the things that they're telling themselves all day long, and pushing themselves and expecting of themselves and comparing to others in themselves, and they're bullying themselves. They're hurting their chances for a joyful life, for a beautiful life, and they don't know that they're doing it. They don't know that it's wrong because it's so innate and natural for them.
excuse me. Yeah, I think that's the world though that they've grown up in.
Yep.
It's all of these environmental factors. So I think some of the things that are incredibly important as society is that, we need to have early screening, right? So early
Right.
mental health screenings for kids.
Mm-hmm.
The earlier that you can detect that something is going on, whether that's through, school screenings or primary care physicians to be able to refer out, but having those screenings done in those formative years to learn where your child is at. So
Mm-hmm.
you can get them the resources that they need. I think also like just promoting mental health literacy, talking about it, learning about it,
100%.
understanding how the brain works, understanding that it's normal to feel these ways. It's how do we
Mm-hmm.
manage it? How do we deal with it in a healthy way? And so really promoting that mental health literacy piece, I feel really strongly about that being incorporated into schools.
Yeah, and some
Um,
schools are
you know,
doing some good jobs at, starting the day with grounding and,
hmm
mindfulness and things that help the kids to settle into their day and practicing that. And good for those schools. Yeah, for sure.
right,
I'm
right.
100% behind you. You and I have talked about this. Also, we've talked about ways of watching kids throughout their journey, like from kindergarten to 12th grade, and,
hmm
checking in with them on a mental health basis. And I've heard that that there are programs being looked at with AI to be able to do that in a more efficient way so that
hmm
we're not losing kids through the cracks, right? So that
Right.
it's not so much of extra, I don't want to say burden, but an extra job for the teachers, right? An extra
Sure. Yes.
responsibility, huge
I
responsibility. Teachers already have so
right.
much responsibility, but to have to track every child's, mental health development throughout their school career is impossible for
Yeah,
teachers
for
to do.
sure.
And we don't have enough school counselors either. So if we
Absolutely.
can, yeah, find some programs that make it more efficient, that make it easier without, going over into our, their human rights type of
Of course. Yeah, I
institution.
think we're at a very important time right now with technology and
Mm-hmm.
how it's evolving so quickly, especially with AI. And how do we use it for good? How do we use it to help? How do we use it with safeguard rails in
Mm-hmm.
place?
Mm-hmm.
How do we make sure that it's evidence based and always there's like a human in the loop element to that, so that there's always that human presence within it, reviewing it, making those decisions of what needs to happen next. But
Right.
like you said, using these tools, leveraging the technology so that we can be more efficient and not add on to the plates of educators that already have enough on their plates.
And don't get
And then
paid
something
enough.
else,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
And then something else you said about like the supports, I think that's another huge element. And we talked about this in a previous episode about just community. I
Mm-hmm.
think that really creating intentional spaces for your kids as they grow up so
100%.
that it's not foreign to them, I think is so important. So having those peer supports, having those resources and structured sense of, or like community, essentially, how building that out as they grow up so that they have those support systems in place if they need to tap into it because they're, experiencing something challenging, I think is so important so that they do have people identified in their life that are safe people that feel that they can turn to for help when they need it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. And it doesn't
community is
feel
so important.
scary or weird. Yeah. Because it's been
Exactly.
instilled in them from the very beginning.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
with that, we had the opportunity to interview my niece, who is 13, just about her experience as an adolescent in today's day and age, and her experience with mental health and what she's doing to navigate her own personal mental health. So it was a great interview with her. She was brave to come on with us
Yes.
and talk a little bit about her experience. So we hope you enjoy the interview with my niece Ava.
Yes. And any comments and feedback are always welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Enjoy the interview. She's barking.
And we're on.
Tell me if you can hear. Okay, there we go. Welcome back for another episode. Today we have a super special guest. It is my beautiful niece, Ava. You can say hi.
Oh, hi.
Yes, she is 13. Full. Tell your dad that you're on camera and you're recording and to stop talking in the background.
Dad, you need to stop talking.
Thank you. And we can keep that in the recording, Rita, just so you know. Don't feel like you have to cut that. But we have consent for her to be on, just because, yes, she is a minor. So thank you for joining us, Ava.
Yeah.
This is my co-host, Cindy. I believe have you guys met?
I think this
No.
is our first time meeting. Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Ava, for joining us.
Yeah,
We're excited
of
you're
course.
here.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a 13-year-old. What life is like these days, because it's such a different world than when obviously I grew up or Cindy grew up. And
Definitely.
we both see clients and practice therapy, as you know, and what we hear from clients, it's just the challenges that kids your age are facing are just completely different than anything from the past. So we wanted to just kind of talk a little bit go straight to the source, and kind of learn what's it like to be 13 in this type of world that we live in, like from a mental health standpoint, from just like a friendship standpoint, like what does that look like in your world?
It's like different, it's like friendships are harder, but like I think that like being in therapy like helps a lot with it. Just it helps like set boundaries with a lot of people and like just open your eyes, like if you like notice who's not great to be friends with and who is.
Why do you think it's hard? What makes it hard to have, or like what makes friendships hard for you at your age?
Like being in the wrong crowd, like people doing things that you're not comfortable with and them pushing you, or them not like being true, like like just telling a whole bunch of people lies about you, and it like affects how you feel about yourself and a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah. How does social media play a part in that, or does it?
Social media, like it can like people can see other like girls or boys on there and like wish they like looked like that, or like they see how they feel and feel like they should feel like that. So I think social media isn't the best probably to be on all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Did you have a question? Sorry,
Oh, I
Cindy.
was just
Did
going to
I
say
cut you off?
there's so much more comparison, I feel like, now than when I grew up or when you grew up, Danielle. Like, you guys have it right in front of you all the time and probably set some pretty high expectations of yourselves because of that. Maybe even some unattainable ones.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. When do you remember, like, can you think back and remember, like, this is when, like, body image and those types of, like, that focus really came to light amongst you and your friends?
Body image came like I'd say around like fourth grade, when I like people started to like real like social media came out, and like seeing other people and like hearing people making fun of for how like they looked or something. Like I think just like fourth and up just really like messed with how we saw ourselves.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
that
so
so
young.
sad?
So
So
young.
that's
Yeah.
9 years old.
Yeah.
That's nine. That's, and it's like, it's so sad because, I mean, you're just developing. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and comparison, first of all, the internet is not real. So like,
Right.
let's start there. So when we're basing our worth, or even like comparing, against somebody on the internet, it's like, it can all be fake, it can all be AI
Yeah.
generated now. It can all be, you never know. So it's like it's unrealistic, these expectations that kids are putting on themselves to look a certain way with something that may not even actually be a real person's image, which is
Yeah.
dangerous,
It's very dangerous. Yeah.
Rita was just telling Cindy and I about a show, and a girl on this show who is, I guess, really, well, definitely has to be super small, but like there's something about putting her sunglasses around her waist or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like that even that type of just, I don't know,
Example.
getting getting attention off of that type of example is incredibly dangerous because that's obviously not healthy, you
Yeah.
know? So I know, like, so Cindy works with a lot of individuals, or I would say they all have
Almost.
some level of disordered eating,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Almost all. Yeah. Yeah. And so, Ava, I see a lot of girls your age and up who it is about fourth grade when your body starts to change. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that we don't realize, I think, is that when we do go through puberty, we're supposed to gain like 30 pounds because, historically our bodies are, when we go through puberty, they're changing in order for us to be able to carry babies.
Yeah.
And so we're supposed to get hips and boobs and all that stuff. But what's so hard, and I hope that you can speak to this too, is that our body's doing what it's supposed to be doing, but society is telling us, no, don't, you're not supposed to look that way. No, so we're fighting this like natural
Mm-hmm.
growth that's supposed to be happening. And then we're also fighting that happening and oftentimes starving ourselves or trying to change our body in ways that is not healthy.
Are there kids at school that you're aware of that they're experiencing the same things and that, are struggling with similar
Yeah,
experiences?
one of my really good friends, she started starving herself in like around the end of 5th grade and 6th grade. So I was like one of her main like person she'd go to like talk to about it. So I've had her like she struggled a lot with it, and then one of my friends ended up in the hospital this past year because she starved herself to a point where it got really dangerous. So I've had like friends go through it, and it just sucks.
What does it look like? I mean, that's those types of things. Like, what do you do in those situations? Because that's, that those are topics that shouldn't be solved within a 13-year-old friend
Yeah.
group. You know what I mean? Like, so how do you handle?
I'm not like great in those situations, so I try to like talk to them the best I can, like suggest like I've
Mm-hmm.
suggested like therapy, and maybe you can like try therapy, talk to like an adult, because I'm trying, but I don't know how to like help you and like know like what to say to you really, but I try and help them
Mm-hmm.
like get them back on eating, make sure like at lunch they're eating and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just so you know, Ava, it's not your job at 13 to fix
Mm-hmm.
them or to help
Yeah.
them in that way. So good for you for reaching out and asking an
Yeah.
adult for that support, because yeah, it's important that they get the help that they need and that you don't feel the responsibility of fixing that for them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's just a big reminder and just messaging out there for kids, because it's a different time to grow up. It's hard. There's a lot of things. I think the internet alone has just really complicated childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and so kids are being put in positions that to handle things that aren't kid things, and your brains aren't developed as kids, you're not fully developed, you don't have that level of like problem solving and your executive functioning. All of those things are just not fully there yet because your brains aren't fully developed. So I think that's a really big thing of, as a kid, understanding that it's not your responsibility to carry the weight of these really heavy topics and feel the responsibility um, to be the solution, to be the solution for someone else. It's fine to be a friend, obviously, and to like provide support in that way. But at the end of the day, you should not have to carry the weight of anyone, nor should your friends, so I would absolutely continue to encourage you to, you know, speak to adults and not feel like you have to carry that weight when your friends are
Yeah.
going through those things. How have you seen like social media over time? I mean, I know that you like to do that kind of, like the TikTok thing. how have you seen it kind of used over time amongst you and your friends? Because like I know I have my perspective of like you used to do little dances on there and like and now I almost feel like sometimes at like with your age group, I sometimes feel like it's used as a way to communicate with each other, but like subliminal messages almost. Like it's interesting sometimes what I observe. So what do you think? How has that kind of changed and how does
I think people like my age go towards social media to express how they feel, and I've done it before a ton of times too. So I think they think posting it and getting it out there it's their cry for help instead of talking to someone. So I think they just try to, because they don't know like how to say it, and so they just put it out there, hoping someone feels the same.
And then what happens if somebody doesn't like respond or like what's the, you know what I mean? What's the goal with the
I think
post?
it's just to put it out there, just even if someone doesn't feel the same, it's just their way of letting someone know I'm going through this or I feel a certain type of way about myself. So I think they just, if it does, like someone does reach out to them or something, I think like they just try and get it out there just for people to know.
Fair.
How about with like bullying? Does that happen too?
Yeah.
Like people using posts in order to bully somebody else or send a message to somebody else?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you guys go ahead? Sorry, Cynthia.
Nope, I think you're going to ask what I was going to ask. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, like, how do people kind of manage that? Because that's with the internet. Once you put something out there, I feel like it. You know, it's out there, right? It spreads, and so just what that could do,
Yeah.
it's just so harmful, right? Like I can't imagine already the stress of being a teenager, right? And then having somebody put something out. It could even just be not even. It could be something just mean, just plain out mean, and it could be a lie too. And so it's like that just feels so scary, I guess, you know,
Yeah.
like very, you not be able to
Yeah.
stop it. You know, have you seen that happen to kids and like what has that looked like? How has that
I've
looked for you?
had friends like get bullied. I have a friend that she's in high school. She like people make hate accounts on her and like spread lies and stuff. Like yesterday, someone put her address on a board and told them to go to her house because she's having like a Halloween thing, but she really wasn't. And like that, like she just like gets bullied a ton. All my friends do. I've gotten bullied a ton. So I think people just get kind of upset towards it, and it just pulls them like away. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awful. Who's there to, how do what's like the school stance or like, how do you stop something like that? You know, how do adults get involved? What does that look like?
Usually if someone goes to something, they'll get like law enforcement involved a lot. They'll get parents involved. They'll get like seriously and like law enforcement, especially they'll get them down. Like I've had friends like go to the office and them having like serious like I've had people go to court for stuff like that. One of my friends.
That's wild.
So it sounds like there's a lot of responsibility on the school too to kind of keep track of all that. And yeah, wow.
It's just a scary time.
It really is. What is there something, Ava, that you feel like is misunderstood about your generation or about people your age?
That I think a lot of people think it's for like attention or like just a way to like have eyes on you, but it's like not at all.
Yeah.
Interesting. We were kind of talking a little bit about that earlier too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny you say that. Do you feel like this generation is more open to talking about mental health, and so that's why it feels so different for like older generations where maybe that's why they lean into it's just for intention or, you know, people wanting, you know, like you said, eyes on you and things like that versus, you know, now because it is so widely accepted, especially amongst your generation.
But I think a lot of people just have like certain ways and know a lot of people feel the same, so I feel like they are more open to talk about it.
What do those conversations kind of look like amongst you and your friends?
We feel comfortable enough to go to each other and talk about how we feel and like know if we need the help we can get it. Like talking to your parent or a
What
trusted
does that
adult,
look
like
like to get
going
help?
to therapy like I am or something like that.
Okay, so you've been really open, Ava, in sharing with us that you're in therapy.
Yeah.
How, oh, I don't know. Okay, I was like, I don't know if we can hear you. We can. How long have you been in therapy?
I think I've been in therapy for a month and a half now, I think, around there.
Okay. Okay. What was it like? You don't have to tell me the actual situation or anything, but how did you know, or what were you kind of experiencing or feeling where you were like, I think I need to go see someone professionally?
I think when I started to looking at myself and start pointing out things that I didn't like and just me pulling myself away from a ton of people, I also would stay in my room for a long all day and not talk to anyone. I wouldn't eat anything and just stayed there not wanting to be near anyone. So I just started. I was like, oh, I probably should start talking to someone so it doesn't get worse.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you. That's really brave.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
really, I mean, it's hard to know. Yeah. Hard to
Mm-hmm.
know what's going on or what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way?
What have you, so since starting, I know it's only been, 2 months or so, but since starting, do you feel like you have gotten, benefits out of it? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, I've learned how to put boundaries up with friends, and I've learned my therapist pointed out things that I thought were normal but are completely not, and I've learned I can't be near I can't be alone for very long without falling back into depressed state where I stay in my room and don't talk to anyone. And I
Mm-hmm.
think just she's also helped me notice things that I've never noticed about myself. So I think that's been really great on me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What has, what do you think has given you like the courage to be so open about getting that support?
I just knowing that I'm not the only teenager that feels this way, and I'm not weird for feeling it, and I know I'm not going to be judged for how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there probably is a lot of judgment in your age group, right? Because I talk about it with my friends all the time. Like, we did some stupid things when we were teenagers and in college, and nobody had a iPhone to record it, thank God. But
Mm-hmm.
now everything, it's like you guys can't make a mistake, right?
Hmm.
It's somebody's going to catch it on camera or and maybe even put it out there to everyone else. So that's hard because guess what? You're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be making mistakes. That's how we learn. And it's totally age appropriate for you to be doing things and trying them out and getting it wrong sometimes. But now there's so much judgment around that it's got to be hard just to be 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just to be 13 and then yeah, and who knows, what people will do with that information. I mean, just even
Mm-hmm.
what you were sharing about the bullying online. I mean,
Hmm.
that's so scary that a simple act could turn into something that is put out on the internet that you have no control over. That's incredibly scary to have to experience, and the pressure of that for just an entire generation of living that way.
So, for our listeners, Ava, who have kids your age, what would you tell them, one, to be looking out for in their kids that might be not obvious that their kids are needing or wanting help? And then, two, what would you say is really helpful in a therapist at your age?
I'd say look for signs they're not talking as much or not really they're zoning out a ton or just not being super talkative or hanging out with a ton of people. Also their social media too, what they're looking at. What was the other one?
Yeah, no, I when I asked two in a row, I'm like, ooh, I should repeat that. The second one is, what do you think is important for someone your age to look for in a therapist?
Oh, that they let you talk and they let you there's some mind can relate to a lot of what I've gone through, and they're not gonna make judgy comments or snarky remarks towards you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think you said something that's really important, which is the social media piece about just being aware of what you're watching. And I think that we really forget that all of this is energy, right? And so what we're watching is energy, you know, that we're taking in. And so if we're watching sad, depressing, angry, hurtful, like negative things, we're going to take that kind of energy on, and it's going to do something to us, maybe not immediately, but over time. And, you know, the way the internet or social media works is, you know, there's algorithms. And so the more you watch it, the more you're going to get, you know, that's what they're going to feed you. And so you can almost start to feel like, well, everybody's sad, or everybody's, you know, everything's bad, everybody's angry, and like almost normalize unhealthy patterns, you know? And so I just think that's really important, and a great point that you made about just being so mindful of what you're consuming, you know? It's why I don't watch the news, you know? It's literally why I do not watch the news, because
Same.
it's like,
Same.
it's so unhealthy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You can just
Yeah.
go down a rabbit hole, and it
Mm-hmm.
really can impact how you operate in the world.
Yeah.
Well, and as parents, you know, we didn't grow up with the ability to look at social media all the time. And I think sometimes parents forget to look at their kids' social media and to check your accounts and to see what it is that you're, you know, watching all day. And so I always get frustrated when I'll do like a family session and parents will be like, well, when I was a kid, we had more respect, or we had whatever. I'm like, yeah, but we're living in a time like no other time ever. And there is no ability to compare when we grew up to now you growing up, because the world is completely different. And so I think it's important too for parents to help each other and encourage and educate each other that we need to learn too, right? Like we have new stuff to learn as well. And in order to safely parent you well, we need to learn what's going on alongside of you.
Yeah. I know you answered, you know, what parents should look out for, but what do you think kids your age right now most need out of their parents, given like the world that we're living in and how you guys are growing up?
Just their support. I think just for them to understand that you're going through stuff and that you need time to figure it out and be okay with yourself.
Mm-hmm. What would that support look like beyond, is there anything else beyond like time, like you just mentioned, time to figure things out? Were there other actions that would show support, in your
Yeah,
opinion?
letting like making yourself like be like making like you be hold on. Like letting your child know that you can go to them and talk to them and make them like so they feel comfortable with you and feel like they can trust you with what they're feeling, and make them feel like what they're feeling isn't weird.
We call that holding space for someone.
Which
Right?
your dad just learned today.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yes. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
so just
Well,
being
yeah,
vocal about, this is a safe place for us to
mm-hmm.
talk, and like for you to come
Yeah,
to me, being
mm-hmm.
available, I
Yeah,
guess, maybe too, you think would be helpful?
With
Okay.
zero judgment, it sounds right. Like not feeling if I say this to my parent, then they might think that I'm weird or they might be
yeah,
angry, right? I think that's the
Hmm.
biggest fear of kids that I talk to is I don't want to make my parents angry, so I'm just not going to say anything.
mm-hmm.
Right, right. What would you tell somebody listening, a kid, let's just say, another teenager listening who's going through, you know, a hard time, who's feeling insecure and feeling stressed and overwhelmed and maybe depressed? What would you encourage?
I'd encourage like going to see someone, and that take time out of your day to like for yourself, and maybe take a little bit off social media, not like always comparing yourself to others either.
No, that's good. It's important. I think those like social media breaks are really important for all of our brains.
All of
You know,
us, adults and teens, yes,
yes,
for sure.
yes. Well, I am so grateful that you came on. This was very brave
Thank
of
you.
you, to
Brave.
do this. And I am so proud
Thank
of
you.
you for all that you do, everything, but most importantly, for just loving yourself enough to go and just take care of you, you know? So you're a great
Thank you.
kid, and I love you
I love
endlessly.
you. Yeah.
Thank you,
Ladies
Ava.
and gentlemen, my niece, my beautiful niece, Ava. Well,
Yeah.
oh, and her dog's in
And
the
her dog.
background. Yes.
And Bodhi.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. And until next time, I am Danielle.
And I'm Cindy. Thanks for listening.